Okay, hey everybody. Thank you very much for coming. So we have Paula Messina from
Hi everybody.
AFS. We have your
Buenos
faculty.
dias.
You want to say hello and introduce yourself real quick?
Hi everybody, I'm Professor Kim.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Lewis. I teach art history.
My name is Aaron Salinger. I'm going to be the lead Spanish teacher.
And we have 3 students that came back
Yay!
from Seville. How long ago did you come back?
About 2 weeks.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So
We're
they're
very
fresh. Very fresh. Should we hear from the students first?
Yeah, and then I would love their participation throughout the whole thing.
Yes, do you
But
mind?
yeah.
Can you stay for an hour? Or if you could,
Yeah.
that's fine. If not, we understand. Do you want to come up here?
Sure.
All right.
All three of us?
Sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I'm just gonna ask you guys some questions, but feel free to have a rant.
A rant.
A rant.
A good rant.
Okay.
So, you were just there for 3 months. What was your thoughts going into Sevilla versus the experience you had?
I think I was kind of terrified when I first got there. I mean, it didn't hit me until I
That's okay.
landed and I got on the plane. You know, when I got off the plane, that was like, I realized that like I'm in a different country, in a place that the official language isn't English, and I think that sharing communication really terrified me. And coming out of it, I think I was pretty different. I think just being stubborn enough to actually go and make a decision to go, I really cultivated that stubbornness and made something out of it. You know what I mean?
Put it to good use. Yeah.
I was, for the first time in my life, not anxious about something. I was just super excited going into Sevilla. I was like, this is going to be great. I'm going to make all these friends. And I did, which is great. But I think, like, I was very focused on, like, I'm here to make friends with all these people. But I think coming out of it, I realized, like, I was there for so much more than that. I'm definitely not fluent in Spanish, because I only took Spanish 2 there. But I'm definitely better at understanding. I'm better at writing it. I think I learned a lot about, I don't know, just about being independent, because when you're in Spain, you can, within reason, you can do whatever you want. So, you know, it kind of, in a good way, in a good way.
In a safe way.
Yes, which includes that you can travel to other countries, so you learn, you know, how to book a flight, how to book a hostel, how to do all that stuff, and it's a really good learning experience, not just for learning Spanish, but for just kind of learning life skills, I guess. So.
Yeah, to piggyback off of what Sarah said. I was pretty nervous before leaving, but the second I got there, like all that anxiety kind of just melted away in a way, I guess. Just because you hit the ground running right when you get there. I remember getting off the plane in Seville and getting on the bus. One of the first things I saw was just a bunch of like graffiti and everything tagged in the buildings in the more modern area of the town. And it was very like comforting. It was like, oh, like even though I'm a half world away, that's my culture. That's my jam. So I think that was actually. It sounds like such a small little thing, but that's really what I remember. That's my first memory of being in Spain, was that graffiti. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that it sounds scary, but once you get there, all that anxiety melts away, and you just start having time of your life.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, as we go through, you'll tell us about every aspect of the program. We'd love your input on housing and academics and what to do, what not to do.
Sure.
Yeah, I have a
Can't
question.
think of anything general.
Well, I mean, what would you want to say to students that are kind of thinking about doing this or not, or
Do it.
why should they do it? Why is it worthwhile?
I think if you're if you're searching for motivation, there's 2 scenarios you should think about: what you stand to gain and what you stand to miss out on.
Don't go because you're running away from something.
Good.
Because it's going to change you, but you will never be able to run away from that problem that is, I know we're all human here, we all have that thing in our back of our minds. Because I've only been back 2 weeks, but that's kind of what I'm finding out is I changed so much in 3 months, but I didn't change. Like I'm still Malcolm. I'm still Malcolm Costelli, and I just have the added experience to study abroad. So it's like Samuel said, like you there's so much you stand to gain, and so little that you stand to lose.
Yeah.
So definitely pursue it. If you're here, you've already made that step. I think every person in this room here, since you're already here, you've already thought about it, will advantage from it, definitely.
Absolutely. I don't have a lot more to add than that. That pretty much sums it up. I just say do it.
I think something I hear a lot.
Can I ask
go
you
ahead.
guys a question? Any of you can field it.
Sure.
Out of the, there were about 50 or 60 of you in the entire group, right?
54.
54, okay, good size. Around how many students would you say were travel novices? That is to say, maybe first time out of the country,
Oh.
first passport?
All of us.
lot.
Especially, I mean, I've traveled a lot, but never by myself. So that's something I had to learn on my own.
Okay, because I want to assure them that, you know, if they don't have extensive history in traveling by themselves, that should not be a deterrent.
Yeah, this was my first time out of the country. Like, I'd never even gone to, like, Canada or Mexico. Like, first time out of the country, you know, first time getting my passport. And I flew there by myself. I really dove in. I was like, I'm just gonna go by myself, and it'll be fine. And it was. So, like, definitely don't feel like, oh, only people who are super, like, traveled and knowledgeable about the world and stuff go on this, because it's not true. Like, a lot of people have never been out of the country.
I'd say probably a good 3/4 of the program had almost little to no experience besides, you know, traveling to Mexico
Yeah.
or like states around California.
And no, I don't think anyone had been to Spain.
No.
Yeah.
On the flip side, though, there are people who are experienced in travel, and that's a good thing because you can then use them as a resource
Oh, yeah.
or as an assurance. Like one of my roommates is actually a veteran and has been all over the world, and it was good to have that experience.
Yeah.
Just to be like, okay, hey, you know, I have this problem. What do you normally do with it?
Right.
But yeah, don't if you've never traveled, don't feel reticent.
Don't feel like that disqualifies you from going.
No.
'Cause, I mean, that's a better reason to go, because then you get to go.
And like, because I had never traveled, like I've been all over the United States, but I've never actually crossed the ocean. And I ended up going to Morocco. I ended up going to the UK. I ended up going to Amsterdam. That's it.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, so there's nothing stopping you from doing whatever you want.
Everybody wants the program in Amsterdam, I noticed. On the,
Yeah.
one other question for me. You guys can ask questions too if you think of anything. What is some cultural difference that you really appreciated? Did you know, or what is a big cultural difference that we have with?
You will walk everywhere, and it is
Oh, yeah.
actually wonderful.
Yeah, I
Like,
love that.
I loved walking everywhere. It's just so easy, you know. You just message your friend. It's like, oh, let's meet at such and such place, and then you just walk there and you meet, and then you can just walk wherever else you want to go.
Yeah, that's a big difference
Yeah.
for us down here compared
But
to
it's great. You get used to it super fast. Like if
Yeah.
you never walk here, you'll within like a few days, you're like, oh yeah, this is the normal.
And I really enjoyed the walking too.
Mhm.
I think it really took some time out of my life to just, walk across the whole city and really just observe, hear Spanish conversation, see how, the rhythm of life really is. And I think that's one of the biggest things is the rhythm of life is completely different. And I find it really beautiful. Yeah. The difference itself, just being able to assimilate into a different culture and live in a different rhythm of life really expands your humanity.
What's the rhythm difference with Spain?
I think Spaniards are experts at enjoying life.
They're not in a rush.
They're never in a rush, especially in
They're always,
Seville.
they're
Everything's
always
just
living in the present moment.
slow.
And
Like
I
don't
think that's
expect
something we need to do.
don't expect normal customer service that you are accustomed
Oh
to.
yeah,
out
there
here.
is a difference.
And it's not a bad thing, except like maybe if you're trying to get like medical attention, but even then, they're still pretty on top of the ball.
You're not dying.
It's just
Yeah.
it's just very like low key. Like
Okay.
if people go out to have lunch, they're there for an hour. They're there for 2 hours, just sitting there. At least in Seville, everyone wears nice shoes, even if they're not in necessarily the nicest clothes. they have really nice shoes on. And then even then, they all wear nice clothes. Like, it can be like 89 degrees out, and guys will be in
Full suit.
3-piece suits
Really?
with ties on and everything.
Even the babies are dressed really well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just I don't think you can necessarily put it in a box, but the cadence and the tempo of how Spaniards live is much different than how we live here.
And then also something kind of in addition to the walking around Sevilla, I never ever felt unsafe. Like I always felt like this is a safe place to be, and that's something I really appreciated because, like even around like Glendora or like Upland where I live, I don't know that I'd be walking at like 11 or 12 at night, you know. But in Sevilla, it's all very.
Because everyone else is walking around.
Well,
Well, exactly. That's the thing. There are people out like any time of the night. There's still people out like having a good time.
Sevillans like to party.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a couple times where I was headed to class, and people in suits and dresses were coming back from wherever.
From a night out, yeah.
Coming back from. Which is it's just
It's a different schedule, right?
Yeah.
Because they're going out around 11.
Well, and they sleep
midnight.
during the day too, because I don't know if you guys know siestas. Siestas are a thing. So from around the time of like 2 to 6ish, almost everything shuts down, and people either quit, not quit their jobs, but stop working.
Yeah.
They go home and they sleep, or they like go out and have lunch. So I think that gives them more fuel for nighttime activities. Because it gets hot. It gets hot in the summer. We got super lucky.
Oh yeah, we had only like a few days toward the end of it. It got pretty hot,
Yeah.
but other than that, we had really good weather. Like it rained a little bit, but
Similar to here, right?
yeah, it was actually very similar.
I
Like
think it was a little warmer.
It's like the exact same climate.
Yeah.
But it does tend to get a little more hot in Sevilla. So just cross your fingers that you get an air conditioning unit, I guess, for those last couple weeks. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, we'll go through the presentation. We'll refer to you if you are sticking around.
Sit down there. So we want to tell you about the program, give you all of the details. Unfortunately, we don't have the brochure out yet, but
No, we're still finalizing.
but it should
few
be out
things.
pretty soon, and it will be posted on the website, and John will have them available. Is everyone here a Citrus College student? Anyone not from Citrus? Oh, awesome. Okay. Where you all from? Mount Sac. Okay, excellent. Cassie students. Cool. Over here?
Mount Sac as well?
Oh, excellent. Okay, have you met Cassie yet? Cassie Rubio? She's your advisor at Mount Sac. She's fantastic. Yeah. Good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
check in with her about scholarships. And
Yes. Yes,
writing
she's
essays
really
for
good
your
at that.
scholarships. And she's
Excellent.
going to
So just to recap, my name is Paula Messina, and I work for AIFS Study Abroad. I came to study abroad just like you guys. When I was in college, I was a Spanish major and wanted to I needed to learn the language if someday I was going to be in the classroom and teach it. So my college was affiliated with AIFS, so I went with AIFS on the first program to the University of Granada, which is a city that you all visited as part of your program. You like my city? Excellent. So I spent a year there with AIFS, enrolled at the University of Granada, learned Spanish. After I returned and graduated, I ended up going back to Spain, where I worked for AIFS for 24 years, working on campus, running the program there. So I'm really familiar with Spain and with the idea of study abroad. We were founded in 1964, so we've been doing study abroad for 55 years, and we've sent over 1.5 million students abroad. We have been working with Citrus and the consortium of colleges since 1989, so this is our 30th year sending Consortia Southern California students abroad. So it's really exciting. This semester in London will be hopefully some kind of event or party going on so that we can celebrate that relationship. I think that our forte is that we have local program coordinators, and you all met our local people there, right?
Yes.
Edu and Rita.
Yes.
Right?
Lovely.
Both from Spain, neither from Seville, but have a lot of experience working in Seville. And that's the great thing about it, is that you have local people who are there to set up the program with your faculty and with John, and they set up all the activities, the housing, all of the classroom facilities, make sure everything runs as smoothly as possible. But real life happens, right? And when something happens that needs resolving, they're there to help work out the issues so that it goes as smoothly as possible. As a company, we work with study abroad students across the world, right? We're in over 20 different countries. And we have written incident response and crisis management procedures. And those are big, scary words, right? But we know that things can happen. It could be as minor as, my debit card doesn't work, what do I do? You would have people to go to and they could help you, find out who to call, what to do, how to resolve the issue. Could be something, a natural disaster, man-made disaster. We all watch the news, we know. We have written procedure that our staff has to follow when things like that happen to make sure that our students are all accounted for and that they're all safe and the program goes as smoothly as possible. So that's us. This will be up on the website probably this week, right? So if you'd like to take a look through the videos, we have a short student video up there. Let's watch one for a sec.
So
I'm not in a rush.
this is one of the students from this semester that just got back. A very talented videographer who ended up making videos for every month, every event that we went to. So you're going to hear him in the video, and hopefully it's emblematic.
When I first thought of studying abroad, I was a little bit fearful. Fearful of the unknown. And then, all of a sudden, I was waiting in the airport to fly to Spain. And I was nervous. Nervous to meet the people, nervous to leave my comfort zone. And I was doubtful. Is this even a good idea? Will I make friends? Will I be lonely? And then I landed in Seville, my new home for the next 3 months. And I met people. People in my study abroad group. Local Spaniards. My host family.
Es una niña.
Elena. Ciao. Chocala. Carmen. And we became friends. Ciao. As time went on, we became family. And we did a lot together. We traveled by bus, by plane, by bike and on foot. And we saw a lot. We saw beaches and birds and sunsets. We climb things when we go out together.
That's his dad.
We listen to music. And we made music sometimes too. And we dance.
Ollie.
And we laugh.
Oh, Jesus. That was one of us. Jump to the boiler TV. Oh, my God.
We make memories. Memories that we will remember.
He's so talented.
I feel like
No,
crying
it's
right now.
That was worth it. Thank you. Thank you. We're gonna link that in there, huh?
It's called Nate's Adventures.
I saw that Morocco video.
Yeah, the Morocco one I saw too.
Yeah, he has a couple
wait,
other
come on,
videos.
Paul.
If you're interested in checking them out, just type in Nate with an apostrophe Adventures right into the YouTube search bar and it'll pop right up.
Right. So we want to talk to you a little bit about why study abroad, right? I mean, obviously, all these are wonderful reasons, but study abroad obviously is an investment, right? It's an investment in time, it's an investment in money, it's an investment in your education, in your future as well. Less than 10% of U.S. college students study abroad today. So if we do the simple math and turn it around, when you are competing for spots for transfer, when you're competing in the job market later on, when you have your degree, it is something that at least 90% of your peers won't have, right? It's that international experience that you will put on your resume that is featured on your transcript, and it can help you get hired. It shows admissions officers and it shows employers that you have acquired certain skills. Like, wouldn't you say that you have acquired skills and developed skills that you haven't had before? There are, most important is intercultural competence. That is a term that they talk a lot about now in the employment market and career services. That is the ability to talk to people and relate to people from other cultures, right? I can't think of a field nowadays that is not some way touched by international or the global market, right? Be it business, healthcare, education, everyone has to deal with people from other cultures. So it is definitely a skill that employers are looking for. As a matter of fact, LinkedIn says it's in the top 5 of skills. So having that international experience on your transcript or on your resume proves that you have attained intercultural competence. Do you guys think that you, in a lot of ways, have learned to deal with people from other cultures that you hadn't had before?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Can you think of an instance, maybe, quickly?
The Spanish are very direct, and they don't mean any offense by it. Like, there is an instance where, I asked for something at, like, a restaurant, and she just said no. And I was like, okay. And then, like, she'd explain, like, oh, we don't have, here they'd be like, oh, I'm really sorry, like, we don't have it. And there they're just like, nope. And we don't have it. And by that time, I wasn't, like, offended by it. I was like, oh, yeah, this will happen.
Yeah.
You get really
So you learn,
used to it,
right?
yeah.
Not to make it into a bigger deal than it has to be, right?
Yeah.
Personal skills that you gained, you talked about independence already.
Absolutely.
More creative,
More flexible.
more flexible.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Definitely more flexible because just so many like things you don't even realize that are gonna like come up, end up
Yeah.
happening, and then you kind of have to maneuver around them.
Right.
And
I think creativity is kind of linked to that, right? Creative and coming up with other solutions.
Yeah.
Right,
I mean,
right.
there was definitely, yeah. There was a
Yeah.
trip I was going to take, and the cheapest flight to get there had an overnight layover in the Madrid airport. And I talked to my friend, and I was like, well, do we want to save money and just sleep in the airport? He's like, yeah, let's do it. So
Creative solution, right? Flexibility, problem solving, definitely have turned into problem solvers, right? Nothing is exactly the way you're used to.
right.
So even though it is very much a European, nation, it's not a developing nation. It's very much, I think it's part of the G20. You still, everything is done differently than what you're used to. So you have to figure it out. You have to problem solve. Exactly. So these are all skills that you will develop when you're there. Hopefully you will develop really good stories for how you solved problems and became flexible and more adaptable that you can use in job interviews or college interviews if that is something that you'll have to do. And that's why we think study abroad is valuable for your future. There's a lot of good statistics. A lot of companies like mine have done surveys. We've done longitudinal studies on students that have gone abroad 5, 10, 15 years out of their experience, and we've asked them to tell us about the benefits that study abroad brought to them. 100% of students who go abroad, when they come back, they improve their GPA. You guys have to prove that next fall.
I did. I mean,
You
coming
did?
out of study abroad, I
You
got
did?
straight A's. So
Awesome.
you can do it too.
Awesome, good for you. So I think that study abroad definitely makes you more focused, gives you a better idea about what you want, about what you'd like to do in the future, might change your mind about what you'd like to do in the future, and sort of you see clearer that you have a path, and so it helps improve your studies. 97%, I think the second one is really important, 97% of study abroad students find a job within 12 months versus only 47% of college graduates that don't study abroad, right? So having that international experience on your resume makes you more hireable. It also makes you more qualified for higher salaries, about 25% higher salaries. Again, you have this experience, this intercultural competence that makes you more qualified. So, and then 90% of study abroad alumni who apply get into their first or second choice of grad school. And maybe that's like far down right now. You're just thinking about transfer right now, which is understandable. But on the Cal Apply, I know my son did Cal Apply last fall. And on the Cal Apply, they do ask you to identify which courses you did as study abroad. They ask you which ones are honors. So Cal Apply is definitely weighing your study abroad courses more than your regular on-campus courses, okay? So the consortium are 13 different colleges, Citrus College being the lead college. Have you guys made friends with people from all these different colleges? You've had faculty from all these different colleges? So that's really interesting too. You know, you'll meet people outside of your normal campus, which is always a good thing. And then, why Seville? Are you glad you went to Seville?
Yes.
I'm very glad.
Over,
Yes.
yeah?
Over any
Why
other.
Seville? I think Seville is
It's
the
home.
quintessential
Yeah.
Spanish city. And I know because I lived there for 25 years. And it is the city that you think of when you think of Spain, right? What do you think of when you think of Spain? You think of bullfighting, you think of flamenco, women in, the beautiful polka dotted and flouncy dresses. That is Seville, right? You won't get that if you go to Madrid or Barcelona. It's completely different. Nice climate, very, very much the Mediterranean, Southern California climate. It's big enough so that you're never bored. There's always something to do or something new to do and something new to see. Great food culture, right, with tapas and pinchos. Do you like Spanish food?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Very different than maybe what
Yeah.
you expected. A lot of times people expect very similar to Latin American food or Mexican food is
Totally
completely different. Totally
Yeah.
different from that.
Yeah, I'm not a fish eater, so
Yes.
that was like, if you're a fish eater, they have so much fish there.
Yeah.
It's
But
good.
did you try?
I tried. I did
Yeah.
try. I gave it a fair chance a lot of times.
They didn't
You know.
convert you. It's really funny because my son and I just had that conversation yesterday, how much he misses the fish there.
Yeah.
So I guess it's all what you grew up with. And lots of parties, right? Especially in the spring. You have Semana Santa, which is Holy Week. You have La Feria de Abril, which is their county fair kind of that lasts 2 weeks, and the city goes crazy for 2 weeks. And I think that's about it. Also a lot of history, great surroundings, right? You're not so far from the beach that you can't get there for a weekend.
Right.
You all went to the beach in Malaga or Cadiz? Cadiz.
Yeah, that's
Great beaches.
But there's also Sevilla has its own airport, so you can fly within like anywhere within.
That's my next slide.
Yeah.
There you go.
Was it expensive to fly out of Sevilla, or how are the prices like to other cities?
Not too bad. Like there was never the most expensive flight I had was to France, which makes sense. But like flying within Europe, like round trip to Barcelona, I think it was maybe like €100. That's round trip, so that's not too bad. And the airport is great. It's pretty small. There's only one terminal. It never took me longer than like 5 minutes to get through security. It's great.
Yeah. Did you do the AVE, the fast train to Madrid?
No,
No.
I didn't.
A few of the students did only.
Yeah.
check it out, and they
Yeah.
thought it was worth it.
Yeah.
So transportation options in Europe are just
You have a
completely
lot.
above and beyond
Spectacular, yeah.
what they are here.
Yeah.
And even if you get a ticket like last minute, like plane ticket, like it's still gonna be more expensive than it would have, but it won't be like out here.
It'll always be cheaper than flying around down here, for sure.
Excellent. So there's lots of opportunities for long weekends, holidays that you had time off to be able to travel.
Oh yeah.
So 3 days is enough to, because every weekend's a 3-day weekend.
No, there's some 4 days.
Some
Yeah,
4
there's
days.
some 4 days.
Yeah.
With holidays and
Yeah,
stuff. There
and that's plenty of time to go.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely.
Come back.
And then
Excellent.
I know some people, and like I wasn't able to do this, but some people with their class schedules had it so they only had class on like 2 days of the
Oh.
week.
Nice.
So like every weekend
what I
was
did.
at least
You did that?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's what I had until y'all changed the schedule up.
Sorry.
And then I suddenly had class Monday, Wednesdays
Aw.
too, but
But we forget.
we forgive because it was awesome.
Maybe it was better to be spread out.
Maybe.
Everything worked
We'll go.
out.
We'll go with that. We'll go with that.
So academics and your faculty is going to talk to you in just a sec. You have Mondays through Thursdays. All courses are UCCSU transferable, so they're all in the AGETSI. They all meet gen ed requirements, perhaps some major requirements depending on what your major is. You enroll in 12 to 14 units, right? Not,
Yeah,
or
I mean,
11
you can
to?
enroll in more than 14, but I
Right.
wouldn't recommend
You won't
it.
want to.
The one required course is the Spanish Civilization course, which we'll talk about next. And you could do an online ed course if you want as part of your 12 to 14 units. Sorry, that's next. Aaron, would you like to talk about your Spanish courses, and then we'll kind of talk about the Civilization course.
Okay. I have so much I want to say to you guys. I don't know if am I supposed
Yeah,
to speak by the
feel
Yeah.
free. And if you
Microphone?
want, go by the microphone.
Yeah.
Bye. Hope you guys liked what I said. I have so much that I want to say to you guys. I don't know exactly how to explain to you what you're going to get out of a program like this, and obviously that's the point of the meeting, is to try and excite you. I'm sure you're excited a little bit by being here as it is. But how do we show you what you're going to learn? We can't, right? It's just like college in general. If we could give you what you're going to learn in college, you wouldn't need to go, right, to give you a magic pill. So some of the stuff you have to experience on your own. A little bit about myself. I am a Spanish professor at Mount Sac. One of my first adventures in a Spanish-speaking country was a study abroad program just like this. There's different kinds of study abroad programs. This study abroad program is awesome for a couple of reasons. It gives you the ability to travel, but still take care of the requirements that you need to transfer. To be honest, transferring is the most important goal when you're at community college. It's supposed to be 2 years. Doesn't always happen, right? But we still want to make it out as fast as possible. So this allows you to do that, to transfer or to keep up with your requirements. But also, like they were saying about having experience traveling, this is an awesome experience to travel if you haven't traveled a lot on your own. When I did my study abroad program, I was 20. It was 1936. I'm just kidding. I was 20, but at that point, I'd already hitchhiked by myself through Europe. I had hitchhiked through Mexico, so I'd had experience traveling. And then I've taken students abroad in my professional career. My last study abroad trip was to Nicaragua. And when I was going on this trip to Nicaragua with my students, I thought, coming from where I come from, where I've done some crazy traveling, I've slept in airports, I've slept in traffic circles, I've slept in front of supermarkets. I thought to myself, why are these students coming with me on this program? Why wouldn't they just go by themselves? And as we went on this program, I got to see these students who were nervous. They hadn't traveled before. And literally within the first week or two, you could see them like flowers opening up, their confidence bloomed, and they started going off on their own and doing what you all did, traveling to different places, meeting different people on the trip, and going with them after they kind of got their grounding. My Spanish classes, I mean, the more you take in Spanish, the more you're going to get out of going. That being said, it would be wrong to wait to go until you had a bunch of Spanish classes. It's kind of a catch-22, and you need to jump off in the deep end, so to speak. How many of you guys have taken Spanish or speak Spanish? How many people actually understand Spanish? And how many people have taken 1 semester of second language, 2 semesters, 3 semesters? 2 semesters. When I went, I think I'd taken a semester or 2, and I learned a whole lot. I wasn't quite fluent. I came back and took more Spanish and went back again, and it's a building experience, right? It's like a staircase that never ends. But we're going to try and get higher and higher on the staircase. How can we do in Spain what we can't do here? If you're in my class here, we can read about Spain, and it seems like some semi-interesting thing far away, right? But how much more interesting is it going to be to actually go do and experience and see the things that might just be a picture in your textbook here at home? I can give you homework here. I can ask you to have conversations in class. But think about when I ask you to have those same conversations out in the street, and you can go and use your Spanish in kind of a real-world situation, so that it doesn't become just some academic exercise. This is a real tool that we're going to be able to build upon and grow and eventually use like we use English if we can't do that already. I wanted to mention a couple of things, the jobs and the transferring. I think that one of the reasons that employers and schools are looking for this experience is because if you have the experience of living in different situations, working with different people, it allows you to problem solve in ways that people without these experiences can't. So if you don't have these experiences, oftentimes employers think you're going to just run up against a problem and you're going to throw the same solution at it. Whereas if you have these different kinds of cultural experiences, it's going to allow you to try and attack the problem with different solutions, and maybe one of those will work. And I don't want to be the first one to bring up money, but you guys mentioned walking so much. Sorry, I didn't mean to say money and hurt you. You guys mentioned walking, and I know that when I talk to my students at Mount SAC, the first question is money, and I'm not going to go into the details because I'm sure you guys will later. But how much do we spend driving? It's embarrassing because I understand the devastation it causes, but I'm spending $50 a week on gas here, and I don't drive that much. I only drive to work. I didn't even drive here today. But if you're spending that much or more on your car and you're not using it for this semester, that's a significant amount of money. So just keep in mind those kinds of issues when thinking about the economic aspect as well.
Awesome.
I'm not sure what else.
Yeah, great. We have the local faculty as well, that will be teaching more levels of Spanish. So you have a lot of opportunity to take different levels or you can take conversational Spanish as well as if you want. So that'll be nice, and you'll be supervising them. So.
And I want to also mention that I learned as a second language learner, but I focus on heritage speakers. So if you grew up in a bilingual family, even if you don't feel comfortable expressing yourself, I know where you're at. I got you. We can do this, and this is what you want to make the leap to put your Spanish where you want it to be.
Exactly. And then we also have the Spanish Civilization, Life and Culture course, which Aaron will also supervise. And that is really a course designed to get you, make you familiar with aspects of the Spanish culture that you might see and not understand, or have always wondered about and never really learned about it in depth. So the idea is that you'll have local lectures come to the class on Tuesdays, and then you'll have field trips associated with what you learned from the local lecturer, for example, things that you guys did in that class.
So there was one week where like the lecture was about flamenco, about the music and the dancing, and then on Thursday it was like a flamenco class.
A dance class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there a flamenco festival there also while you guys were there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Part of the.
Towards the end.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really cool to see. And then like another week, there was a lecture all about bullfighting, and then on Thursday we had a tour of the bull ring. So it wasn't like you had to see the fight; it was just a tour of it.
There's also gastronomic.
Yeah, that was
was
great. That was all about the food of Spain. And then on Thursday we had a tapas tour. So we broke into 3 groups and went to 3 different bars and got to try different tapas, which was amazing.
Awesome. Great. So that's the idea for this class. This is the one required class for all students.
Can I just say
Yeah,
one thing
please do.
about
Please do.
I don't know what you all think about Spanish civilization, if anything, but something magical happens when you land that suddenly this kind of class is going to become fascinating because you're going to want to know everything you can about where you are. If you took this class here, you might be like, one more civilization class, I don't know. But regardless of what you would think about that, taking it here, taking it there is going to be a totally different experience. You're going to find yourself wanting to know, being hungry for all of this stuff.
Excellent. All right, so we'll have our second faculty. Is there
Oh, I
any?
like the art slide.
Yeah.
So is it okay if I stand?
Yes, please do.
Maybe I should stand here. 'Cause
I'll
I
let
have-
you switch your own, or
Okay, well, I have, I'm gonna escape out of this. Is it
okay. It's actually in.
right on, oh, it's in there?
It's in there.
Oh, it's just right coming up. Okay, sorry.
No worries.
You go to the bottom, there's a slide.
Oh, got it. Okay, hi. So I'm Cynthia. I teach art history at Rio Hondo College. And my area of expertise, I guess, about the area that I concentrate in is art of the Spanish Empire. And you know that Spain is actually pretty tiny. And so what I study is the connections between what was coming out of Spain and Portugal, the Iberian Peninsula, and all of their territories, mostly on the American continent, like you can see on this map here. Don't worry, I'm not going to lecture today, but I just want to let you know that this is why I love Spain so much, right? That I focus on the art of Mexico, the art of California, all this. Look at all this green area on the map. It's huge. This was all controlled by Spain. So you know a lot about, probably a lot of the Spanish words, the architecture that you've seen in California. If you've been to like Santa Barbara, red tile roofs, arches, the Mudéjar influence, all these things coming from Spain. So you'll see, you'll feel at home, not only with the climate and some of the food in Seville, but it has you'll feel that California connection too, I think. But so the courses that I will be teaching are history of Latin American art. Oh, I do want to say one quick thing. So I had the pleasure of going to Sevilla as part of my sabbatical last year. And I had been in Sevilla before, but I was there for a month this time doing research at the Archive of the Indies, Archivo de Indias, which is a treasure trove. It's anything having to do with the exchange between Spain and what the Spaniards called New Spain, right, in the New World. All those documents, all those records, all inventories, requests, it's just they have thousands upon thousands, stacks and stacks and stacks of this stuff. And so I was like a kid in a candy store, at the archive. I know it sounds probably boring to you, but that was just a thrill. But and Sevilla is just, the city is a dream, wouldn't you say? It's just really. It's a beautiful city to be in. You won't be disappointed. So the courses that I will be teaching are history of Latin American art. So of course, Sevilla was very important during the Renaissance and the Golden Age of Spain, the 17th century. It was a major center for trade and commerce, and this is from Sevilla. A lot of works of art, paintings, altarpieces, sculpture. There were important workshops in Seville, Madrid and Seville, but mostly it came through this port and was shipped to New Spain. So a lot of the things that you see, a lot of the art that you see in Mexico, for example, or in the missions in California, came straight from Sevilla. So that's going to be really fun for us to be looking at the history of Latin American art from actually being in Spain, looking at the things that were sent over, and all the really incredible syncretism and convergence of traditions, Spanish artistic traditions and symbols and materials with those of the peoples of the Americas, the indigenous peoples of the Americas. So really, really exciting stuff. So this course covers the colonial period, but comes up to the present. So we'll also look at modern art movements. I don't know if you can see, I'm sure you can't see these tiny little slides here, but as we study the art of Latin America, you're going to get to practice a lot of your Spanish. Just in this mural by Diego Rivera up on the top, I don't know if you can see the banner that's written in Spanish, or all the labels of the Costa painting are written in Spanish. So there's definitely going to be a lot of overlap there with your Spanish language studies. Art 100A is a survey of Western art from prehistoric times through the Middle Ages. The nickname that we use at Rio Hondo, we call this course Caves to Cathedrals, right? So, and Spain, maybe you've heard of the caves at Altamira, these prehistoric paintings that were found by a 9-year-old girl in the late 19th century. We'll be, of course, looking at those. We'll look at the art that was produced as during the era of pilgrimage, where Christian pilgrims were making this journey to Santiago de Compostela. Have you heard of El Camino? This probably some of you have heard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we'll be talking about looking at all the Romanesque churches and paintings and artwork that came out of that. And then, of course, being in Andalusia, we will have an incredible opportunity to see firsthand the Islamic art and architecture. So their Islamic presence in that part of the southern part of Spain is very, very strong, and it persisted and remained even after the Reconquista by the Christians. So beautiful, beautiful. Did you have the opportunity to go to Cordoba,
Yeah.
Granada?
Yeah.
Well, the
And you got
Rentour
to
is
see-
part of the SLC.
Yeah, those were.
Oh, those were
day
part-
trips
okay,
that we took,
great.
Yeah.
But we went to the Alhambra.
That's what would you say? What are your comments on your?
They say it's an imitation of paradise on earth.
Do you agree?
I agree.
Yeah.
100%.
I was sick, so it's a
Oh.
little less than that.
Oh, I'm sorry. You'll have to come
But it was
back in
very
2020. Okay,
It
come
was
back and do that
yeah,
again.
Yeah.
Then, as you can see, I'm so excited about. I don't know which of these classes I'm going to enjoy teaching the most, but Art 100B is another survey of Western art that goes from the Renaissance to the present, and so Murillo, who I'm sure you know pretty well from your time in Seville, he's one of the favorite sons of Seville. He worked and lived there, and you'll see his mark everywhere in all the churches or statues of Murillo everywhere. And did you have a chance to go to Madrid? Any of you, or did any of your friends
I went to Barcelona.
go to Madrid or Barcelona?
Yeah,
So you got to see
Barcelona,
maybe
yeah, same.
Güell
I got to
Park
Park
and Gaudí, Sagrada Familia. Did anyone go to the Salvador Dali Museum to see some of the surrealist paintings? If you go to Madrid, you can see the paintings of Velázquez. There are plenty of his works in Sevilla as well. Goya. Have you heard of any of these artists? Not just the group here, but maybe some of you. Okay. And then of course Picasso, right? How could we forget Picasso? So this is just a little bit. Of course, this is a whole Western survey. It's not just a history of Spanish painting, but I'm just bringing this here to get you excited about the things that you're going to grow to, become very familiar with while you're there. And then the last course that I will be teaching, or the fourth that I'll be teaching, is the history of, not history, it's a motion picture appreciation course. And Spain has a very, very rich cinematic tradition. Probably beginning, one of the earliest examples is the surrealist film Andalusian Dog. Has any of you ever seen that before? Okay, well you have to. That if anything, you have to go on this trip so that you can say that you watched Andalusian Dog in Andalusia, right? And so here's the famous scene of the slicing eyeballs. You haven't seen this? Okay, all right. At least I got your attention. That's what. Okay, so you'll have to come if you want to see that. And I've been having fun, and I have plans this summer to be kind of immerse myself in Spanish film, because I think it'll be fun to really kind of focus on that. Though of course we'll look at we'll learn to analyze films for their form, content, meaning, learn how to discuss and interpret films. But have you heard of any of these, like Pan's Labyrinth? Yeah, some of those. Okay, so there are some American films that are set in Spain, like if you've seen Woody Allen's Love Letter to Barcelona. So you guys, now that you're back, if you're missing Spain, you have to watch some of these movies, right? It'll take you back. And I'm very excited to teach this course as well. Any questions? Okay.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, so hi again, everyone. I'm Andrew Kim again. I forgot to tell you that I teach psychology classes here at Citrus College. And with Spain, I'll be bringing 4 of them in particular with me. And feel free to take, even if you've never taken an introduction to psychology class before, just a quick poll. I wonder if anyone has. Okay. The thing is, you don't necessarily have to take these classes in any kind of order, like it would be a math sequence. Feel free to jump in any of the bottom 3 if you find that Introduction to Psychology is a little too much of an appetizer course for you, because with the intro class, we're going to talk about everything. We're going to hit up all the topics, but because of time, not necessarily go too deeply into any of the one. So it's like going to a restaurant and getting the grand appetizer platter where it's got 3 pieces of everything, but you can't really indulge in any one of them. The other 3, however, are far more specific. So I have a nickname for developmental psychology that I teach here. We call it From the Womb to the Tomb, because from the time that we are fetuses to, right before we're 6 feet under, our time on Earth has ended, we continue to grow and change and learn, and we become different versions of ourselves. And how that applies to any study abroad program, I feel, is because where you're born into matters, you guys. In psychology, we call this the nature and nurture influence. Nature refers to all the influence that your genetics and biology has on you, but the nurture part is your environment, your families, your immediate communities, the greater culture in which you're raised. And clearly, while living in Spain, Spain itself is going to be the petri dish. It's the laboratory where you can compare and contrast how their attitudes toward things are entirely different from being raised here in Southern California. Having been to Europe several times just recreationally, just on personal visits, you don't even have to be a scientist about it. I can give you one example of how their attitude towards something which some in America consider to be a vice is so different. And I got the first taste of this on my first visit to Europe. I was 26 or 27 then, so I was a little bit of a late starter as compared to you guys maybe. But on my first trip to Europe, I learned that their attitude toward alcohol is so different from ours. Citrus College itself is a totally dry campus, as you know, but if you go to many universities in Europe, there's a bar attached to the universities. So it's not uncommon for professors and students to have like this continuing Socratic talk at once classes end, just going downstairs and getting a pint together. So it's entirely different. In Italy, which I know about more than Spain because this will be my first visit to Spain, in Italy, it's not uncommon for teenagers to be given a glass of red wine with their dinners routinely. So alcohol is thought of as something that isn't this forbidden fruit in the Garden of Eden, but rather something that brings families together, something that can bring the community together. The pubs of Great Britain and the tapas bars of Spain, these are places where people get together, find out about what's been going on with you this week. I haven't seen you in a while, and it's a time to catch up. And they do this over a glass of wine, a bottle of wine, or a beer. So they don't see it so much as a vice. Here, not that all Americans do, but a lot of you guys were probably told, don't even think about alcohol till you're 40, something like that. So where we are born and raised surely does matter, and my class, Psych 205, talks a lot about that. Another kind of popular compare and contrast class is obviously going to be social psychology, where we just, most definitely find out about how environment matters. And if I can, I have a little short video that one of my former students made when, let's see, I just got to get to YouTube, and I don't have an Apple either, so you got to help me here.
I think like that.
Okay, so Safari, yeah. Okay, I want to show you a quick video that my student, I want to tell you guys that this will be my first time to Spain, but the 7th overall to Europe, and my 3rd time participating in a study abroad, but all of them as instructors. Because my one big regret is that I never got to do this while I was in your shoes, and it's one of the biggest regrets of my life. So I think I'm compensating for that by tagging along with you as your teacher. I've previously took a group to London, England. That was my very first time. And last summer, I took a different group to Kyoto, Japan. And that was a much shorter summer study abroad, but my students had a great time. But here's how my classes will be different if you've taken a class with me on campus here. You guys may know me as kind of more of a structured professor. Everything is outlined in the syllabus. This week we're going to do this, that week we're going to do that. But while we're in Europe, I kind of want us to adopt to, as you guys said, the more relaxed, flexible schedules of Europeans. So some days I just kind of want to take it by ear, play it by ear and see, what interesting things you guys want to talk about, or shall we go visit a museum as opposed to just reading about something in a book. So that's how we are going to take full advantage of where we're going to be living in. But here's a little, but first of all, I'm not saying this so that, my classes seem more attractive, but I'm not the homework guy. And you can ask my former students about my personal philosophy, why I don't believe that 6 hours of labor necessarily translate to you guys learning how to think better for yourselves or becoming more enlightened people. Not saying I'm anti-homework, but just for my classes, okay? But here's a little assignment that I had my students in Japan make, which helped them get a glimpse of how things are in Japan, how things are here, and how Japanese people may view us. Because we often ask, how do we view Spanish people? But what if we flip that on its head? So my former student Peely made this as a part of her required assignment. She had classmates to help. This was a group assignment. So let's see. Every group had to make one, but Peely in particular, I think, uploaded it to YouTube. So I didn't ask for her permission, but I'm gonna show it to you. I'm sure she appreciates the views. Make that coin. Well, I think it has all of 50 views, but she can still make that 31 views. But volume.
Can you guys hear that? Maybe not. Turn up there.
The question is, she's asking the Asian students, where do they think she's from? Well, she's from here, obviously, but when Japanese people see a kind of a brown-skinned person, they make certain assumptions. They don't automatically associate that with Americans. They tend to view Americans as blonde and blue-eyed, and yeah, it's a very narrow view of what Americans are.
Statue of Liberty? In New York? Yeah. Oh, the Golden Gate Bridge. Do you know of any famous Americans?
Maybe some of Hollywood actors like Ryan Reynolds and Mariah Carey.
Okay. So I think it's a little hard to hear, so I'm just going to pause. But not literally this assignment, but I'll have in store something similar for you guys to do, where you can, since you're immersed in Spain, interact with the locals living there, and find out a thing or two about how they live and what matters to them and what's important to them. Okay, so it's not all about book reading and the traditional kind of learning that takes place on campus here. So that's one of my classes. How do I get back to the PowerPoint again?
That's a good question. I think if we just X out of that, right? That's what I did before.
Yeah. And to round out the list, the last class that I'll be teaching is human sexuality, Psychology 225. All, again, are fully transferable, as Mr. Morris mentioned, and you can take them in any order. So feel free to take one or more than one, however, it fits into your schedule that term, okay? Oh, one last thing. This is outside of what I teach, but since you guys, the group that got back, sounds like you so enjoyed venturing outside of Seville whenever you had the chance, I just want to make a personal recommendation. It's a little bit farther away than Barcelona or France, but if you can make the time, it is my absolute ultimate favorite country in Europe, and that is Switzerland. If you have the chance to get to Switzerland, and there's a lot of budget airlines that will take you there, it's my favorite country so far. Yeah, and especially, guys, check out the Alps in the springtime. It'll be gorgeous there. Yeah, so my recommendation.
Awesome. Thank
One
you.
person in our group actually did make it to Switzerland.
Cool. There are a series of online courses. I believe any course offered here online.
Yeah, anything that doesn't have a on-campus requirement is fine to take. However, when I visit students sometimes, or they come back, they tell me not to take a online course because it doesn't fit in with the program.
Yeah.
Did you take any?
I did not, but from everyone I talked to who took one, they really recommend not doing it. Part of what's weird about it is, so like you didn't take online, did you? So we're done. Like we're done with the semester, but if you do online, you come back and then you have 4 more weeks you have to do online.
And the other thing is that all of us are going to tailor our classes to where we are. It's the reason
Exactly.
for it, right?
Yeah.
So if you take any class online, it's the same class you would have been taking here. It's not going to gel with your experience and what you're doing.
Exactly.
Any discussions are going to be at weird times, I imagine.
Yeah, because it's all on this time. So, but I think if you take like a Spanish course, a psych course, and then the required course, that's 12 units. Or no, that's 11. You can take 11.
You can take 11 if you're not using financial aid, because your financial aid will take a hit. You have to take a minimum of 12 units if you're
Okay.
receiving.
But there are conversation classes. I mean, there's a lot of options.
I know.
And I would say, I think students do like this option for online courses because maybe they need a class to transfer or something. So in that case, you can suffer and do it.
Listening to this, it's really exciting because all of these classes are perfect for what the experience is. The language class, obviously, the art history class, obviously, and the psychology class. One of my favorite experiences with students abroad is culture shock. And sometimes people try and kind of like, oh, no, we don't want to have any culture shock, let's make everything smooth. But culture shock is sometimes where we learn the most about ourselves. It's where we learn the most about where we're from and where we are in the moment. And psychology is going to offer a perfect opportunity to work through that.
Aaron, you reminded me of something I forgot to say. Can I take a quick minute? Something that you're going to get more of in Europe compared to my traditional classes here, you guys, is health psychology. I was just reminded of that because while you're enjoying yourself, you're learning, of course, but you're also making friends and enjoying yourselves. Even good memories cause a degree of stress on our bodies and our minds. I mean, it's good stress, but it's still stress. Think of it as similar to planning a wedding or the arrival of your first baby. A major trip like this can take a toll on your body. That's why a lot of people, when they go to music festivals or indulge for a weekend, they catch a little bug right afterwards, right? Because it took a toll on their immune systems. So not only do I want to teach you topics, but also help you keep a finger on the pulse of your health, your mental health, your well-being. How are you adjusting to this new culture? Let's always keep this mental thermometer of how we're doing week to week. Definitely, I'll incorporate some health psychology.
Excellent. You will be at the AFA Student Center and Language School, where your classes will be based, is in the Santa Cruz area of Sevilla, so it's very well located in the heart of the historic district. You'll have Wi-Fi there, computer lab. You'll have your AIFS student advisor staff We'll have a small office there. They'll also have 24-hour emergency contact. If something, happens after regular office hours, you need to get in touch with someone, you'll always have a staff member on duty. We'll have an orientation when you first get there and several activities that are considered orientation to get you adjusted to life in Sevilla and the program. Your first night there will be at a local hotel, so that will be your first night all together as a group. And then the second day after your orientation meeting, you'll then be distributed to either your student apartment or your homestay family. We'll have a welcome reception and a guided tour of Seville as well. So those are some of the activities and photos of some of the classrooms. You'll get to choose between two options for housing. So you can either choose a student apartment or a local homestay. And I guess it's 50-50. It depends on the group. Sometimes it depends. What did you guys choose?
I know Samuel and I both did homestay.
And I was in the student apartments.
That's good. So
I actually had a
60-40?
single room in the student apartments. It costed me like $940 more, but it was completely worth it. Because at the end of the day, like no matter like how you're saying like mental health, like before even going, like I knew I was gonna need that for myself. So
Sure.
I love being social, but at the end of the night, I really need to just go by myself.
Your privacy.
So it was completely worth it.
You guys I saw his apartment. It was really nice.
That was the best.
It
It
was
the best.
It was like fashionable. But
Yeah, we had
but
like
there's
furniture.
there's a range of apartments, and they're all over. So some of them are right in the middle of everything. Some of them are further out. I saw Samuel's homestay. It's the same. The homestays are generally further out as well because most families don't live in the
Historic district.
the historic district. They're further away, which I think is interesting because you're seeing residential life,
Right.
but it's a further trek. It's
Right.
harder to come into town.
I
Maybe-
wouldn't say come into town because you're still in the city.
Yeah,
But to come into the historic neighborhood,
yeah.
it'd be
Like, I
different.
walked to yours. It was like what, half hour?
It was, yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But a half hour actually in Spain is short. A half
Yeah,
hour
it is.
walk,
Oh yeah, you don't.
that's short.
Yes.
Sorry, we have a couple of hands.
Yes.
I had a quick question about the course slide. Would there be honor courses offered?
No, not that I'm aware of. Right now.
What kind of course?
Honors.
Honors. Can we add a component to any? We've added honors components to classes in the past where there's additional
Work.
work.
Meaning that the group is the same, but some of them will do more.
Exactly.
Yeah, like Brian Waddington would be able to tell us if we can do that. I don't know what we can add it to. I think we might have
Okay.
we might have had an honors Spanish course previously, actually.
In Spanish, in psychology specifically, we have an honors psychology 101 here that I can easily convert my regular 101 to if permissible. I'll look into that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I could
we
easily
could,
convert also, I teach honors at Rio Hondo, and it's so it probably is similar
Yeah.
to what you have on your curriculum.
Yeah, it would be easy to do that since you're already a Citrus
Yeah.
faculty
Ju-
member.
just
We
the
can have you
101.
talk to Brian Waddington, the coordinator, and add that component. And I'll ask Anna off
yeah, if it's, I can do it if it's administratively possible.
Approved.
Yeah, I think it is.
You have any questions?
Two questions. With the siesta, does the school fall along with that time period? Like, is
No, the school opens full through the day. It's possible the
Yes.
school's always open.
It doesn't shut down
No.
at that time? Okay.
Yeah, siesta doesn't. It's not like every single person in
Yeah.
like Sevilla takes a siesta at that point in time, or like if you're in a more touristy area, those workers generally don't actually even get siestas. So it's like half and half, especially in Sevilla, because Sevilla is so traditional. You are going to find much more places that are taking siesta, but you'll still be able to find places that are completely open.
I think we do have a lunch break though scheduled into the classes, right, John? I think we do,
think so,
right?
yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
there
yeah, you
was
have a
a
lunch
time of day
break.
where no,
Yeah,
Between 1 and 2, there were no classes going on.
so that everyone had lunch
So
at
even
least.
if you had even if you worked it out, so you just have like 2 days a week, your classes are on those days, you still have at least an hour break.
And then for the housing, is there a price difference between staying in the dorms and staying in a residence?
Right. So we wouldn't consider them dorms. They're more student apartments. Those are in the basic program fee. If you'd like to stay in a homestay, there's a $1,000 supplement because they would include breakfast and dinner. And there is that additional care from the family, right? So that's the $1,000 supplement. If you'd like single rooms in either accommodations, that can be, it has to be asked for, and then there you would pay a supplement as well, right? You said a $940 supplement. I would
Yeah.
imagine it's the same for the homestay. So it would be about $1,940 if you want to do a single and a homestay. That would be my guess. For all 3 months, it's a one-time supplement. It's not a per month thing.
So one thing I always like to point out to American students is we have a lot more space here.
We have a question there when you're done.
We have a lot more space here. So when you go to Europe or you go to Asia, it's a whole different situation with space. Things are smaller. Rooms are smaller. So there's going to be 2 beds in a small room like that. There were maybe even bunk beds in some rooms.
Mm-hmm.
The homestays are smaller than American homes, right?
And they're apartments.
They're apartments. So that's just the reality for most of the world is they just
Right.
live in smaller spaces.
Right.
So,
Physical spaces.
Yeah, personal space as well is
yeah.
much more or less.
You learn to just bump into people on the street.
It happens.
Here we're like, oh, sorry. There's just like.
And if you have a private room, it's probably a smaller private room.
It's small.
Right?
It
depends on what it's.
Well,
with,
see, yeah, like we really looked out. On
you
that
lucked out.
part
You
of
might
it.
luck out. You might
So,
have
I
smaller
don't think
rooms,
we-
bigger rooms. I don't know.
Yeah,
He's got a question back there.
Yes.
Oh, I'm just curious about the homestay. I know you guys said that you stayed in a homestay, right? Just like how it was day to day and some of the experiences. If you guys can speak on it.
Is there a certain question that you have about it?
No, I'm just curious.
Just the general experience.
Yeah, basically trying to like.
I think it was a really rewarding experience because I kind of lived with a Spanish family. Like I was kind of adopted into a family. And I think that helped a lot because I was using Spanish, from the point I wake up to the point I go to sleep.
I know for all the people who did homestays, some people had really great situations. Like I think Samuel did, and Nate who made the video, he had a really good relationship with his host mother. Personally, if I were to do it again, I would have done the student apartment. Because should I get into the specifics of why?
Well, it's again.
We don't have a lot of time, but
Yeah, just one of the things I didn't like about my homestay in particular was that, like, there was me and my roommate from the program, which is how it is. But in another room, there were 2 people from a different program, and in a third room, she had like students week by week changing out, and it was like one woman, and there wasn't a lot of time to form a relationship, so it was. I just didn't feel it was worth the extra money, personally.
And then on the flip side to the homestays in the apartment, I formed an excellent support structure with the guys that I was with, just because we were always with each other.
Yeah.
So you do get much more immersed in Spanish culture living by yourself in a homestay. But then on the flip side is you also form a very strong support structure living in the apartments.
Yeah.
Can I just say with regards to language?
Yeah.
I assume all of your classes are in English, right? All of your friends, you have the danger of speaking to your trip mates in English. So aside from Spanish class and homestays, you just want to make sure to expose yourself to as much Spanish as possible. And a homestay is an opportunity. Obviously, Spanish is going to be spoken in the street, but it's something to consider when you're making that decision.
Okay. All right, so we're going to keep going because we are
Yes.
going slowly. Field trips and activities. So these are all part of the program. We'll have tapas tours, city tours, a day visit to Granada, my favorite city, day trip to Cordoba, which is spectacular, walking tours, museum visits, cooking class, sport events. There's a lot of different things included in the program. Some will be offered that are optional or you'll pay a supplement to. Is that right? What was your favorite activity that we did as part of the program?
As
Quick.
part of the program?
Yeah.
Like, that was included?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. I really liked Cordoba.
Cordoba is spectacular. Yeah. Tapas tour too, you like that?
Oh, yeah, that was
So
great.
That was fun.
Soccer game was fun.
Soccer game
I've
is
never
always
seen a
fun.
soccer game before.
Yeah.
Paula,
Real soccer.
will you guys plan
No
any
offense.
multi-night excursions similar to how the London students do Scotland?
We're doing Morocco.
Morocco.
Oh, yeah.
That is, well, but Morocco is actually next because it's optional. But just to review everything and give you the program fees. So based on a program of 45, the fee will be $8,045. For if we make it to 65 students, it will go down to $7,625. The housing in a shared apartment would be included. The supplement for the homestay. We actually decided not to include the city travel pass because that was a waste of money, so therefore that's taken out. Sorry, I didn't remove that. Your student staff service, your student center, your 24-hour emergency contact, having 3 faculty members there and their corresponding courses, your orientation program, activities, medical insurance is included, so you will have health insurance to cover any health care that you may need when you're there. That is based on emergency basis, not like checkups. The as needed. The application fee is included and pre-departure services and orientation. So before the group goes, we'll have an orientation meeting to get you ready. You better say I did a good job on that. I'm kidding. Expenses not included would be your airfare. We will have an optional flight available, or you can purchase your own, like Sarah did her own flight. Your community college tuition fees would not be included, but if you qualify for the promise grant, which we used to call the BOG fee waiver, that can be applied to those fees. Textbooks would not be included, but if you're an EOP&S student, you can apply for EOP&S here, or if you're already an EOP&S here, you can use that I was going to say waiver. It's not a waiver. It's voucher. That's the word. Thank you. Personal expenses, including your passport fee, that would not be included. And meals, except those in a homestay, and we'll have some group activities and meals that are included.
Did you cook
Okay.
a lot, or did you eat out?
I cooked like the first month, and then I got like lazy and comfortable with
Your Spanish?
my Spanish and my position in that kind of that life.
Okay.
So I went out to eat a lot after that.
I wasn't allowed to cook at the homestay.
Right.
So that's also something to keep in mind.
Right.
I mean, except for breakfast, like I made myself toast.
Right. That is very common
Breakfast is very
in a
light.
Spanish homestay.
Yeah.
The kitchen is the domain of the homestay señora, so you
But
don't
you have
are
breakfast.
allowed. But you have breakfast and dinner included. Okay. Morocco trip. So this is the optional trip to Morocco, which some of you participated on. Malcolm, you said you did. All three of you did it. So it's a $425 fee, and it's you take a ferry from Algeciras or Tarifa. Tarifa to Tangier, and you visit the city of Tangier. Did you stay in Tangier or Tetuan? Tetuan. And you visit both of those cities. Tangier is the historic district, the Medina. It's very fast-paced, and it's very much like a movie. And then Tetuan is a little more modern, a little more up-to-date, but very real, like what it's like to live in a real-time Moroccan city. And then you travel to Chefchaouen, which is a little village in the mountains, about an hour and a half from Tetuan, and you visit the Blue Village, right, which is absolutely beautiful. Students love that, yeah. Everybody loves that. So that's 3 days, 3 nights. You take the ferry back across the Straits of Gibraltar and back. Transportation while you're in Morocco is included. All meals in Morocco is included except for snacks and beverages. Guided tours through the Medinas and the souks. The souks are the markets. So you get to do a little shopping. You get to get henna. What was your favorite part of Morocco?
Chefchaouen.
Chefchaouen.
Chefchaouen was one of my
beautiful.
favorite parts of Morocco.
Yeah.
We also went to, I don't know if they're going, we briefly went to Asila.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just, it was a city.
That's where
That's
we
a
did
beach
the
town.
camel ride. So it's probably the same place.
The Cave of Hercules.
Yeah.
Oh, the cave, no, it was a different place. Asila was the city where everyone has second homes. It was like beach. Anyway.
Yes.
Super cool. Definitely worth it. I thought it was.
Yeah.
It's actually really cool to see how close you are to Africa, because from Seville it's like a 2-ish hour bus ride to the port, and then it's like a 45-minute ferry ride, and then you're on the continent of Africa.
Yeah, I think I managed to get a picture of both bodies of land when I was on the boat, of both Europe and Africa. So that was interesting. It's very close.
Yes.
So this excursion fills up. So if you are interested in that, I highly recommend that you sign up for it when you enroll in the program, because then there's a waiting list and there's always tiers and problems, so do it right away. We will have an optional round-trip flight, so what we call the group flight, which will be transfer from LAX to Madrid, Madrid to Seville. It will include airport pickup in the Seville airport and transfer to the hotel, and then return transfer to the Seville airport at the end of the program, and then Seville, Madrid, Madrid, LAX. All right, there's no LAX to Seville flight direct, just so you know. It's a smaller airport. They don't do international flights, or transatlantic flights, better said. All right, we don't have the price for that because it's so early, but we will in the summer, over the summer, and you'll be able to sign up for that if you wish. Eligibility and everything, this is John.
Right,
I'm
and
gonna
you're
pass
also
it on
welcome to book
you.
your own flight.
Yes.
There's very cheap flights to Europe nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
I flew out there with Norwegian Air, and you did too.
Yeah.
Norwegian Air is, you get nothing.
Yeah.
It's bare bones. You should bring food on, or I guess you can pay extra and get
You
it.
can pay extra for food. You
back-
can pay extra for a checked bag, but
Yeah,
it's,
baggage is really strict, and you get extra charges. But you can find flights for like what, $500-600
I got, so with a checked bag and 2 meals round trip, I think mine was like $650. So that wasn't bad at all.
And the other nice thing is it flies directly from LAX to Madrid.
Yeah, mine.
So,
It's a long story. My flight got changed, but
Yeah,
you
that's
can
the
get a
problem.
flight directly. Yeah. But
yeah.
the thing to keep in mind is that you then do have to get yourself from Madrid to Sevilla. So I did that. I just flew Iberia, and it was like not very much money to just fly one way.
you can also take the
You can also take the train.
the
Yeah.
Ave, and it's like
Pretty cool.
$80, $90,
Each way.
and it's a bullet train, which we
Mhm.
don't have in this country. So that's really
Mhm.
interesting. It's nice.
Eligibility.
Oh, right. So you just need to be 18, and you need to have completed around 12 units with a 2.5 GPA. If it's your first semester, we can give you a progress report. If you are lower than a 2.5 GPA, you can turn in a progress report for the fall, if you like. Or if you had a significant situation in your life, just explain it to your advisor, and they'll work with you. Financial aid and scholarships. So the thing to keep in mind if you're not from Citrus is that all financial aid is through Citrus College. So you need to add Citrus to the 1920 academic year FAFSA. And you have, awards, grants, loans, Parent Plus loans. And we actually just held a workshop at 10 a.m. this morning, and I recorded that. So if you want information on financial aid, watch that video. I'll send it to you guys, and I'll post it on the Study Abroad homepage. And we had a financial aid technician run through everything. So watch that video. And there's we'll have a financial aid fact sheet that also explains things, but we're getting our documents together right now. For scholarships, it's so great you're here early. This is necessary to apply for scholarships. So the big one is the Gilman Scholarship. It's the first Tuesday of October is the deadline. Is that right? It's October 1st?
I'm pretty sure I looked it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then it opens in August?
Yes, August 10th or so.
August 10th. So this is open only to Pell Grant students. If you are a first generation student, former foster youth, if you're a minority, what else? If you have a learning disability or a physical disability, this is something that, they want to promote study abroad for non-traditional students.
Do we know what the amount is of that?
You can get up to $5,000, which is rare, but for a semester program, students usually receive $2,000 to $3,000. It used to be like 1 in 3 applicants would be awarded, but it seems like that's changed.
They cut their budget a bit.
Right, so the Trump administration cut the budget. Now it's like 1 in 4 or 1 in 5. We have also the AIFS. One more thing about the Gilman, or with any of these scholarships, on the Spain page there's a guide written by Cassie Rubio, because I've noticed our students need a lot of work on their essay composition skills. So it's something you should start working on now. And you need to know how to compose an essay coherently, which is hard. And it's a skill that you will use for the rest of your life. So Cassie Rubio wrote a great guide. She's a screenwriter, aspiring screenwriter. And so that is linked, I believe, on the Spain page and the main homepage.
Yeah, and Mount SAC students make an appointment with her. If you qualify for this scholarship or any scholarship, she will help you through the whole process. She's spectacular. So
yeah, you really need to get your story down on paper.
Yes.
How to talk about your life.
She's really good at pulling your story out of you. You don't even know.
And the way it works is you get one good essay going and you apply to all these scholarships. Applying to scholarships is like looking for a job, later in life. You'll be sending out resumes and cover letters all over the place. That's what you do with these scholarships. You get one cover letter or a scholarship essay going.
Right.
You just change it a little bit and keep sending it all over. You got the AIFS scholarship. Did you get?
Yeah.
Yes, and you did too. But you guys didn't get the Gilman. No? Okay. So yeah, we'll have the AIFS scholarship for 5 students, and be sure to apply to that one because it's only our group of students.
Definitely.
So it's
only like 23 people applied to it or something.
Right, and we had 5 people get it, so it's pretty good.
Better than 1 to 5. Yeah.
And don't put it off.
But it is.
Yeah,
don't put it off.
Then even if because then don't put it off because your essay will not be what it needs to be.
Right.
If you do it last minute.
Yeah.
Right.
Utilize the resources, your writing center, your faculty, if you have faculty that would review it. I'll help you with your essay if you want to bring me your essay. I'm not going to write it for you. You got to have it down, and then I'll help you from there. We also have foundation scholar. Is that?
I know here that deadline was April.
It was in April, so so we won't have it. Maybe Mount SAC will have foundation scholarships. And then these are linked. We have a scholarship linked page on the Spain Study Abroad site where there's a bunch of links. So that's where you can start. You got to do research and find scholarships.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Do you want to do that?
Sure. Creative funding is a way that a lot of students are raising money to go abroad. I remember talking to a student from Mount SAC about 3 years ago, and she said, I don't write essays. She said, I'm not good at writing essays. It's not my strong point. I got through my English classes, but this is something that I could do, and there was more return on investment. It was more guaranteed. So she, number one, cut down on her expenses. So made a lot of lifestyle changes as she worked toward the program, cut down on expenses, stopped buying coffee out, made her own coffee and brought it with her, packed her own lunch, took it with her rather than buying it at the food truck or at the cafeteria, asked for gifts of money rather than stuff, and lived like a monk. Didn't go out and lived like a monk and saved all of that money for her study abroad experience. We had an advisor at Mount SAC, Larry Silva, who would say, I'd rather eat top ramen in Spain than steak in Pomona, right? So he cut down on his eating out and all of that. I know that I have a freshman here and a student who's transferring next fall, and they both spend all their money on Amazon and on eating out. Right, at Cane's and at Chick-fil-A and stuff like that. If you cut down on all those expenses and eat at home off your parents or, then how much money can you save? My boys could save a lot of money doing that. Back to basic ideas. So side jobs, working for delivery services, tip jobs. We had a student who did Japan with Andy who came to our meeting last fall or last winter, and he said he got more hours at work and did graveyard shifts because they paid overtime or they paid more per hour. With the student at Mount SAC that I was referring to organized a bake sale. So she made a menu of products that she could bake, and then on the opposite side of her menu, she put her photo in Barcelona, because she was a Barcelona student, and her story, right? Why she wanted to go to Barcelona, what her educational goals were, why this city was so important to her, why she's been planning a trip or a study abroad there since she was very young. And when she went to sell at, I think, every admin and faculty faculty office on the Mount Sac campus, she would first talk about, you know, what her dream was and why study abroad was important, her story, and that helped her make the sales. We had another student, Frankie Jo, who did the same thing, and she used her social media to promote her bake sale and shared it, asked her friends to share it, and got a lot of sales that way. So that's things our students doing. This is a Chafee student who went to Barcelona about 2 years ago, I think, Christina, and she did garage sales. And so she went around to her family, friends, and neighborhood and asked for donations of stuff rather than donations of money, and organized a 2-day garage sale and made $1,000 in 2 days doing that. So those are things that students are doing to raise funds. Crowdfunding is big. GoFundMe, although they keep a percentage, but using, again, your social media and asking friends to support your goal. And it's always about having a good story, why this is so important for you. And really, we want you to sign up for study abroad with that kind of idea in your brain. What Seville is going to bring to you personally, educationally, how you're going to fulfill your goals that way. Venmo is a way, right? Venmos are direct transfers, right? They don't keep percentages, I think, so that's an idea, I believe. And then letter writing campaigns would be like asking for scholarships for different organizations, especially if you have a family member that belongs to any local fraternity organization, or then asking for sponsorship is a good way to try and come up with funds. Some people, parents or family members that work for larger companies, might offer scholarships or matching. Like if you win a scholarship, then you can do that. We've had students who have done spaghetti dinners to raise money, right? Sip and paint kind of stuff, or you can get creative. Like, what are your skills? What are you good at? Do you do arts and crafts? Can you sell some of the stuff that you make? Right? Do you paint? Right? We had a student who painted and she went to Japan. Sell it on Etsy or things like that, right? So did you guys do any creative funding ideas to come up with funds?
I worked as a custodian for 4 years.
Awesome.
And used my savings.
Yeah, good for you.
Did you use financial aid to do it, Pell Grant?
No. I was just pretty much every single dollar I spent was either a dollar that I made myself working or a loan. Like I took out personal loans, so I don't want to get into that right now. Don't just go and take out a personal loan.
I would advise against that because yes, the financial aid office. I think like 80% of our students are using
subsidized
Pell Grant. Some of them are eligible for subsidized loans, which have no interest. Yeah. Unsubsidized loan has interest, but it's gonna be a lot lower.
Right, and the only reason I didn't take out a loan like that is because I was my GPA was too low. So I kind of had to do it all by myself, and even then, it was completely worth it. The debt's worth it.
Yeah.
Like you guys saw the statistics that they put up with all the educational and professional statistics. So between that and the experience, regardless of how you get the money, it's worth it.
How much
We'll have to
do you
move
guys
to LH for Costa Rica.
save or spend up for like, the tuition and the apartments and just pocket money?
Just how to apply.
It just depends how much traveling you do on your own,
Yeah.
how much you plan to be spending outside of the program. I think that plays a big part of it.
Yeah, definitely make a budget and have goals in mind what you want to do. Honestly, I would plan at least one trip, but I would keep your options open because once you actually get there and you start making friends, those plans are very subject to change because now you're going to want to go with what someone that you've made very good friends with is doing or a group of people, stuff like that. So I would budget everything. Once it was all said and done, my just entry-level fee to get into the program with the Morocco trip and the single-room apartment stay was almost $2,000. And then I ended up spending $5,000.
Before we get into more questions, let me just finish it up here with this. To apply is pretty simple. Like I said, we're still getting our documents ready. But if you just Google Citrus College Study Abroad, you can go to the Seville page, which we do have up. There you guys are. And we have another student video there. There you guys are again. We'll have more meetings. You don't need to come to those, but we will have our orientation later in January. And let's see, how do I get rid of this? There should be.
While you're searching, can I?
Yes.
As far as like money for travel, a plane ticket round trip is going to cost more or less the same coming back immediately after the program or staying a little bit longer. When you guys are professional and old like me, you can travel differently. But consider you maybe have time and no money. Hostels are incredibly inexpensive. The Camino de Santiago that the art history professor mentioned, I think that you can walk that, and it's like $10 a night to stay. You're going to meet other people on the trip who are going to want to go with you, so it's not like you're needing to worry about traveling by yourself. But you just think that in the future you can stay in like a 5-star hotel and pretend to be Beyonce, but right now you're a college student and you need to travel like a college student. And if you want to take the picture like Beyonce, then you can bring the toilet seat and make it look like you're on the first class. You guys haven't seen that? You're going to make it look like they're on the airplane by putting the toilet seat next to them. No? Anyway,
yeah.
you can make it look like you're paying a lot of money for your trip, but you can really travel on the cheap. Bread and cheese will go a long way. So if you're thinking about traveling, you should, and then you figure out how to do it.
Yeah, well, especially because I kind of had the mindset of like, well, I'm already in Europe. This is the cheapest I'll be able to go to Paris right now. The cheapest I'll be able to go to these different places. So.
But Europe is set up for students to travel. We don't think of that in the United States, but it's easy as a student to move around. It's easy as a student to find inexpensive student places to stay. As far as safety, a lot of the danger and fear we have is actually of the United States. I've only been held up in the United States, for example. And oftentimes people can be afraid of Americans because they're afraid of our same fears, but they don't have them there.
So real quick, just click the interest form. That's how you get started. I'll send it to your advisor if you're at Mount SAC, or I'll respond. But we don't have the link yet to apply with AIFS. So you get a link to AIFS. They'll have a timeline where you got to upload passport photos and some medical stuff, and that's where you're going to place your deposit. So we don't have that yet. We'll have it soon.
What is the deposit you have?
How much?
$450.
Oh, yeah. $450 and then
Sorry, deadline?
$50 for the Morocco.
Exactly, and 50 for the flight. So 50 would be for either optional, additional.
And
Do you know when the
there's
deadline for the deposit is?
November.
November
is it
something.
November something. Yeah.
Since we don't have the brochure yet, we don't have that information yet, but it should be out soon.
And this is the homepage. So if you click on funding study abroad, you can find. Oh, that's. You can read that. But there's also. Where are? I guess I don't have. No. Yeah, it's on individual pages. I'll upload the scholarship information. So
I need to update that now,
we'll update that.
right?
Like
it's all
London,
for last
England, we
academic
have,
year?
for example, I'll put it here. This is our scholarship and financial information.
Yeah, I need to update
But we
that.
need to do that still. And then here's Cassie's worksheet I was talking about.
Which has also been updated.
Yes. Oh, it has. Okay.
Mhm.
So we'll update that too. So we actually have to end this kind of abruptly because we need to do a Costa Rica information meeting.
If anyone has any questions,
I'll
I
go
can
get
stay
set up,
and you
yeah.
get set up.
Okay.